Hello again, thanks for joining. Today we've got three old Jouef models to have a look at. This is from when the company was still independent of Hornby, and these models are made in France. But this comes from a time when budget was seen as more important than quality. But is that true of these wagons? Let's check them out. The one on the top here is a grain silo wagon, I believe, and it's number 6542. This one looks to be an Esso tanker wagon, and it's 6509. And finally, we've got a good old gondola wagon here, and this is number 6572. So I think this is going to be quite interesting to check these out. We're going to start off with the grain hopper at the top, so let's get it open and we'll check it out. So quite an interesting looking wagon. I quite like grain hoppers, and this one certainly looks very interesting. It's a nice shape to it, and it's obviously all in plastic. It's quite light, this actually, as well, and it has got quite a sheen on the finish here, so it's not very matte. And also the printing on here of the Unicopa is also very bright and shiny. I think there's a little bit of damage here on the C. If you look on the other side, it's not like that. But then these models are all second-hand and getting on a bit now, so it's to be expected there might be a little bit of damage, but it is actually looking not too bad at all. So having a look at this end where we've got the steps going up to the top, it's got even some writing there. It's moulded into the main piece of plastic. And we have this ladder, which I think is an extra part added on with a little platform, and the railings here, which is a separate piece. And also the buffers are separate too. You can see that they're slightly different colour. We've got some steps here, which is moulded into this one piece. There is a little tab there which holds the chassis into the main part of the moulding. The main body is all just one piece. There's some smaller writing printed on here, which is actually done really good. You can see the SNCF logo there. So the printing on this is actually pretty good, I think, but it is quite strange that they've moulded in the lettering on the chassis actually into the plastic, but it's quite cool that it's there. We've also got some little levers moulded in here. You can see inside here we've got some bracing moulded in there as well, which is really cool, but it is pretty plain up on top here. On the buffer beam we've got a fake coupling there. The buffers do look pretty good, and like I said, they're extra pieces that have been put in. The coupling is half plastic and half metal, and it is part of the bogie underneath, which is attached to the chassis just with this little piece of plastic stud here. The wheels do have pretty big flanges on them, but they revolve not too bad at all. And there's a nice amount of detail on these bogies with the springs well defined. It has a representation of the bottom of the hoppers, but not a lot of detail really, and obviously a big moulding mark here. And here you can see the Jouef made in France. And looking up on top, we've got some really nice checker plate rendered up here in the main moulding, and these little hatches going across, which do look really fine. It's very nice moulding up there as well. So overall, this is actually a really good looking model. Quite light though, I think it might have some problems staying on the track, and it doesn't look as though it would be easily taken apart to be able to put extra weights into it. But overall, as a grain hopper wagon, this is pretty good. So it's a good opener from Jouef. So let's have a look at the tanker wagon next. So this Esso tanker wagon isn't faring very well with the dirt, that's for sure. It's really dirty, and I've had to give it a clean already, and it still looks really minging. And we've got some yellowing going on in the plastic. You can see it here just where these two parts join together, and also at the other end of the tank here. Again, these transfers are very glossy. You can see the light there on the Esso symbol, but it's very bright and clear and crisp, that's for sure. And we've also got this panel down here with all the details of the tank wagon on it, which is done really well as well. So we do have a platform at this end with a little brakeman's wheel. It's a bit wobbly though. And we have steps going up to the top of the tanker, which are moulded into the main piece of plastic. And up top we've got a really good representation of little handrails for the walkway up to the filler hatch at the top here, which has even got a little lockdown as well, which has been moulded into the main piece of plastic. It's very fine, that could easily get broken off, but this one hasn't, which is good. And we also have this little part here as well at the top of the tank. You can see that there is a moulding mark going along here as well, which is a bit of a shame. And it's pretty obvious that the two end pieces are also separate, and there's a bit of a gap there, and it does move a little bit. At this end we have another transfer at the top. There's not much detail down here on the chassis. Separate buffers again, and we have a similar coupling to the first one because the bogie is exactly the same. It's just a different colour, but it is exactly the same style of bogie, and we have the same kind of wheels here. But they do revolve pretty well, even though they've got a little bit of rust there on the axles. Underneath, no real detail. It does say made in France and Jouef, another ugly moulding mark. But we do have these pieces here moulded in, which look pretty good. But overall, this is a simpler model than the grain hopper, and I don't think it's been done as well. However, let's move on and have a look at the gondola. Well, surprise, surprise, we've got exactly the same bogies once more, the same kind of couplings and the same kind of wheels. They haven't done different bogies, and I'm sure these wagons probably did have different ones. Very similar to the other two, this is a very light wagon made all of plastic. I don't think there's a metal weight in this, and I actually think this might be a one-piece moulding just with the bogies attached to it. But there isn't a lot of nice detail here. It's well-defined moulding. It looks pretty good around the doors here, and also it has very good printing here at this end of the wagon. Inside, nothing on the sides of the interior, but on the bottom we have a good representation of wood, although we do have some moulding marks there as well. And as with the two other wagons, these are separate pieces for the buffers that have been put in here, and you can see inside that they just push through and clip in. So it's obviously been designed to be put together very quickly and without any glue. Unlike the other two, we've actually got a good representation of the underframe here and some tanks as well for the brake gear. So apart from the weight of this model, I think this is actually quite a good wagon, and it does look quite convincing. But I've been mentioning about the lightness of these wagons, so let's put them all on the scales and we'll check out how much they weigh. So the grain hopper wagon is 59 grams. The SO tanker wagon is 46. And the gondola is also 46 grams. So this collection of 3 old Jouef models made in France have actually been quite interesting, and I think actually better than I thought they would be. There's obviously some limitations here in terms of how much detail and finesse each model has, although that said, the grain hopper I think actually looks really quite convincing. I think the worst of the 3 though is the SO tanker. It just lacks a bit of finesse, and the other 2 seem to be just a little bit better quality. But they're obviously made to a budget, with the bogies just being a push fit, and also it's all the same moulding for the bogies, and it's an integral coupling as well, long before NEM was a thing. The weight could be an issue, and they could definitely benefit from some additional weights being added into them. Very easy for the gondola. If you add a load, you could just hide it in there, but the other 2 might be a bit more difficult. But what's a real benefit here is the actual cost of these things, because you can pick up old Jouef stuff pretty cheap because nobody really wants it. I don't know how much these cost specifically because I got them as part of a job lot with a whole bunch of other stuff, so I paid for a big collection of things, but I would expect these would be under £10 each, probably on the second-hand market even today. So as a piece of vintage model railway, I think these stack up pretty good. Especially the grain hopper, it's definitely my favourite. But what did you think of these wagons, and did you have a favourite? Just pop it in the comments below and let me know. I'll put my favourite, the grain hopper, onto the turntable so you can see all the way around. And in a moment, another video will appear on screen, so just click on that and I'll see you there. Thanks for watching this video though. That's it for this one. See ya.
So model trains, model worlds, choo-choo, model trains, in tiny worlds, choo-choo. So model trains, tiny trains, model worlds, choo-choo, model trains, in tiny worlds, choo-choo.